There's a moment, and if you're watching this, you've probably already had it, where you sat down in front of your door, looked at your screen, and thought, what am I doing exactly? You're a singer. You've always been a singer. But somewhere down the line, you started making tracks. You started having decisions about kicks, which ones sound good, which ones sound bad, how long the reverb tail should be, and whether the bridge needs another layer. And now you're doing both. And nobody prepared you for this. I'm Saurabh, one half of the composer duo Sorder. We've scored feature films, placed our music on Amazon series, and composed for over 150 commercials of various brands all across the world. And I'm also a singer. I've lived exactly what I'm about to talk to you about. And it changed how I work, how I think, and honestly, how I see myself as an artist. This channel VoCasa is for singer-producers like you specifically. People building real music from their home setups. And his first conversation is about something that most people never consciously address. Your identity has already changed. The question is whether you've caught up to it. Most singers have a clear self-image. You're the one with the voice. You're the emotional core of the music. Producer, whether that was a person or an idea, was always separate from you. They handled the technical, whereas you handled the feeling. But then home studios became accessible. DAWs became affordable. People started having their whole studio setups in their own homes. Plugins started doing things that used to require a professional room and an engineer. And suddenly the wall between singer and producer got very thin. And here's what happened. A lot of singers crossed that wall without even realizing it. They started making beats to write over. Then they started finishing those beats. Then they started mixing their own vocals. Then they started releasing music entirely made in their bedrooms with no one else around them but themselves. That's not a singer anymore. That's a singer-producer. But many of them, and maybe you're one of them, still introduce themselves as just a singer. Still apologizing for their production. Still saying, oh, the mix isn't great, I did it myself. Still waiting to be taken seriously with someone having a proper studio. The mindset hasn't caught up to the reality. Now, when you were purely a singer, your job on a track was emotional delivery. Your decisions were, how do I phrase this line? Where do I breathe? How much do I push in the chorus? Those are performance decisions. The moment you started producing, you added a completely different layer to those decisions. Now you're also asking, does the arrangement serve the vocal well? Is this key right for my chest voice, or am I writing myself into a corner? Should this track be sparse so the lyric lands, or dense to create atmosphere? Those are production decisions. And here's what's different. They require a different part of your brain. Performance is emotional, intuitive, present. You're in the moment. You're feeling it. Production is analytical, architectural, retrospective, trying to do both simultaneously. And this is what most singer producers tend to do. Is genuinely one of the hardest challenges in modern music making. And I say that having worked with full production teams, mixing engineers on the side, someone just producing vocals, and dedicated technical assistants. The division of labor in professional settings exists for a reason. Each person can go deep. When you're doing it alone, you have to go deep in multiple directions. And that takes a specific kind of self-awareness. And whilst that's already tough, you set yourself up to unrealistic comparisons. You compare your singing to singers who have whole production lines behind them and create the best sound. Your voice sounds unprofessional. You compare your production to producers who have been doing production for almost 10 to 15 years, who have no vocals to worry about. In that sense, your beats sound amateur. And you end up feeling like you're losing out on both fronts. But that comparison is broken. You're not competing in either of those categories. You're operating in a third category. One that requires fluency in both, and where the intersection of those both skills creates something that neither a pure singer or a pure producer can make. Think about the artists who created their own sound. A significant number of them were singer-producers. They weren't the best singer in the room, neither the most technical producer in the room. But the fact that the same mind was making decisions about the melody and the arrangement and the texture, that created a coherence and intentionality that's very hard to replicate through collaboration. Your voice is not separate from your production, and your production is not separate from your voice. That integration is your actual advantage. If this is hitting close to home, if you've been sitting with this exact question about who you are as a creator, then this channel is going to be useful to you. Hit like if you're finding value in this, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming, and share it with a singer producer who really needs to hear it. It genuinely helps the entire community. Now let's keep going. So what do you actually do with this? First, say it out loud. Not in a performative kind of way, just internally. I am a singer producer. Not I'm a singer who produces a bit as well. Not I make my own stuff, but just on the side. Singer, producer, both at once. Own the identity. Second, stop apologizing for your production where vocals is the focus. And stop underselling your vocal in context to where production feels important. You have two things to offer. Present them with confidence. Third, understand that your skill development is different from a pure singers or a pure producers. You're not behind. You're on a different road. The milestones look different. The timeline looks different. And that's fine. When I was building my production career alongside my work as a singer and songwriter, there was a long period where I felt like I wasn't enough of either. Not technical enough to be taken seriously as a producer, not front-facing enough to build a solo artist profile. And then we started placing music across commercials, across web series, and that's when I realized the combination was the asset, not despite the duality. Because of it. Now I could share my scratches way easier and include a vocal element way easier because I was a vocalist. Even my demo scratches would look like finished production pieces, and they helped me secure a lot of the jobs that otherwise I couldn't have had. This channel VoCasa is built for exactly this version of you. The singer who produces, the producer who sings, the person building real, finished music from a home setup without his or her full team, without a label, and without a budget that makes any of this easy. We are going to talk about gear, but for what actually matters with your workflow. We're going to talk about recording vocals at home, not just technically, but psychologically. And we're also going to talk about the business of being a singer-producer. Every episode comes from experience, not from theory, not what I read. What I've done, what's worked, what's failed, and what I'd do differently. So here's what I want to leave you today. You've already crossed the line. You're already a singer-producer. That means owning both sides of your craft, protecting both, developing both. The only question is whether you're going to start operating like one and eventually integrating them in a style that becomes unmatchably yours. That's what this channel is about, and that's what we're building here. See you in the next one.